Do you like the Dreamcast? I love the Dreamcast, and that's why I'm on a mission to complete every single game on the system. There are almost 300 English language releases, so join me on my adventure to completing them all. Last week we took a look at the rather miserable Pod Speed Zone, but episode 7 today, we can rely on a classic Street Fighter 3 Double Impact. But wait, we've got an update, because today we're doing a double feature. Not only Street Fighter 3 Double Impact, but also Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. Yes, it's a double feature. It's technically 3 games in one episode. The madness. If you like the idea of this video, leave a like on it because that helps a lot. And if you want to help out even more, consider checking out my Patreon where you can get a lot of bonus content alongside these videos much earlier. Go have a look. I'd appreciate it. So, Street Fighter 3, developed by Capcom, published by Capcom. This is something of an enigma for me because everyone goes on about Street Fighter 2, and yes, it's the one I played as a kid as well. And then seemingly, much later, Street Fighter 4 came out, and it appears I completely missed the event of Street Fighter 3. Why does no one talk about Street Fighter 3? This is the first time I've played any versions of it, and it's amazing. It's like 2, but better, in my uninformed opinion. So, how are we going to complete this Street Fighter 3 episode? Well, like The Last Blade 2, I'm going to complete the arcade mode with every character. Sadly, I think there is less cheese this time around, but I hear you say, Double Impact is so called because it's 2 games in one. The first iteration, and then its updated release Second Strike, and then of course, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. What are you gonna do? So, here's the plan. Since they're mostly the same, and no, don't comment about that. What I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna focus on completing the base game with all the characters, and then the second and third iterations, I'm just gonna focus on the new characters. Does that sound alright to you? I don't care what you think, it's what I'm going to do anyways. Oh my god, this game feels so good. I mean, I'm useless at fighting games, but here, with the incredibly slick controls, easy enough inputs, high speed, I'm still rubbish, but damn do I feel amazing button mashing. Not only does it play well, but it looks brilliant too. This is some amazing artwork, especially the backgrounds. I mean, I thought I praised The Last Blade highly, but this is even better. Just look at the insane amount of detail. And not only that, but the animation. There's even interactive backgrounds. It's just a wonderfully produced game. Obviously, Capcom had the money to throw behind this because, yeah, it runs smooth as butter as well. The inputs are great. I think playing this on a real Dreamcast controller would cause like serious untreatable wounds, but hey, at least you're having fun. And fun I am having so far. I started with Ibuki, who I don't really remember from anywhere else, but she is quite badass, amazing design, looking like a hot Wolverine in this color set. I have to ask though, of those games where the color set of the fighter is chosen by your inputs, are you like me, who almost always never seems to use the right button for the default color? It's always on the least normal button, and I end up with a Ryu's lilac, as though he's just come back from his first antenatal class or something. And yes, I apologize for the gameplay. I'm not wonderful at games in general, but there's something about fighting games that brings out the worst in my impatience and unwillingness to learn. I do button mash, alright, especially when I've got things to be getting on with. First matchup is with a guy called Sean, who is definitely a Ryu Ken wannabe, with his own small twist. He takes the first round, I take the second, so it's all to play for in the final round. As you may expect, I always spend the first match getting used to the characters, special moves, in a bold attempt to seem like I'm trying to master the game, and I do win. And between fighting different characters, you get some brutal artwork of the victor towering over the badly bruised victim. That's harsh, man. The second fight is against another newcomer, Alex, who Wikipedia reliably tells me was supposed to be the lead character in this one, but that must have passed me by. He's just a big smeghead. Did I mention the background art? Bloody hell. I win the first round, and I'm liking her special rib punch. In fact, I'm loving Ibuki all over. She's stunning, strong, she's fast, and she has a pet tanuki. That's all I've ever asked for. Sadly, Alex takes the next 2 rounds and wins overall. But you can start from this fight, thankfully, and this time I'm rocking red. It actually takes a few goes to get past Alex. I can feel the game is mildly difficult already, but it's not screaming The Last Blade 2 just yet. Next up is Eleanor, who, look, I don't even want to say, because I'll just get in trouble. I'm not a fan of the long legs, nor the incessant dancing. What I love about this release is that between rounds, the arena often shifts. So the first one, we're on top of this bridge, and secondly, we're down below. I love that. And look at that elephant animation. I have never seen a better looking elephant in a video game before. Have you? Please tell me. Comment. what is the best elephant you've seen in a video game, and I bet it's not better than this one. I eventually win 2-1, first time of trying, must have been the elephant cheering me on, and okay. Did I tell you how much of a massive fan of Eleanor I am? Love those long legs. After a short bathroom break, I'm fighting yet another freak, persons of unique formage. This is Oro, who somehow made a return in Street Fighter V. No wonder no one liked that one. And I got a double win on him. Next up is the main man himself, Ryu, who promptly kicked my ass both rounds in this hot spring resort. And this might be my favorite stage in the game. Not sure why. It's got a giant bear in it. Why isn't he a fighter? Maybe that's for Tekken? When is Tekken coming to the Dreamcast? It took me a couple of goes, but my button mashing skills got me over the finishing line. I tell you, this difficulty curve is rather refreshing for an arcade fighter. I am on the default setting as well, and it's tough but not impossible. Then we come to a new character, Yoon. He's so 90s he was already out of date by the time this game came out. Although, you know, Kung Fu Skateboarder, that could work as a movie. Although I'm pretty sure Red Letter Media already did a best of the worst on one of those. Yoon is actually quite tough. He took me like 10 minutes of fighting to overcome him. He's so fast, but he led me onto the boss, Gil. Gil is a Greek god if he was fused with some Colgate toothpaste. Probably like his personality, he blows hot and cold, and obviously kicks my ass. But with some high-level tactical button mashing, after a couple of goes, he goes down. It took longer to beat Yoon than this guy. And so we get our first ending for Ibuki. She's chilling on the grass thinking about her victory and obtaining some sort of secret files from Gil when she senses a presence and decides to go on the attack, only for it to be her classmate Sarai. Much lols, and that's it, she's done. Now let's go on to the other fighters, but don't worry, I'm not going into too much detail about those. I'll just talk about some small interesting things, okay? Don't click off this video just yet. Next up is Necro. I love playing as dead people. After a couple of fights, we get someone we haven't seen yet, Ken. Ken is just Ryu, but not as cool. Obviously, he kicked my ass. And to be honest, so have most up to this point. I am not a fan of Necro. I'm not a fan of this dude. He reminds me of that other guy, that one with the stretchy arms as well. I hated him too. It took me 3 goes against Gil, but eventually I got there, and his ending consists of being sealed in the facility by Gil and is set to self-destruct only for this weird Tim Burton anime girl to come to the rescue, and they drive off into the sunset together. Next up, Sean, the Ryu and Ken wannabe, we're thrown into the ring with Dudley, who is a British boxer, and this London stage looks fantastic in the rain. As an early fight, obviously a bit of a pushover, but I'm looking forward to playing as Dudley. He's like an upper class toff who thinks he's something special in the ring, but he's not. I also like Necro's stage. I hate his character, but you know, this laboratory train or something with a giant heifer in the background is pretty cool and inventive. Reminds me of like classic Hammer horror. Gil took forever with this guy, but eventually we see his victory of him actually getting the crap beaten out of him by Ryu, and Ken saying, I ain't even speaking to you until you can win against Ryu. So he gets beaten up again and again. Oro is just kind of a gimp. He's a one-armed frog type fella, always jumping around, and I know jumping is what amateurs do in fighting games, but that is literally his moveset. Surprisingly, I came out on top first time of trying, and his ending has him lamenting he has no students worthy of him. Well, except maybe Ryu, so he literally flies on a plane to go find him. Next up is Eleanor, our lovely long-legged lady from Kenya. As you'd expect, she uses her feet quite a bit, which shows off the button mashing well, I think you'll agree. Her ending is pretty adorable. She's now an exchange student in Japan, writing home to her parents to tell them about her new friend. Next up is Ryu. Do I need to talk about him? It's Ryu. Why did I accidentally choose the worst color possible? Can you get more bland than olive? His ending is actually just bland as well. He's an all-round bland guy. He just gets dropped off after a hitchhike, which I think these days he's the only dude who can survive a hitchhike. Ain't no one trying to rob and murder him, and he just goes off to seek a new challenge. Boring. Next up, Dudley, who as much as I wanted to like him, he just seems useless, especially against Gil. My dude. Oh my god, it took forever. I mean, the whole thing took forever, but it was especially awful against Gil, who has a special revival power if you take too damn long, and I took too damn long. But it was worth it because my favorite ending in the game, why did Dudley want to fight him? To get his car keys back. Goddamn man, what a hero. And it's not even his car, it's his dad's car. That's amazing. Next up, Alex, who, as I previously said, is supposed to be the main character. He's like a modern 90s wrestler, which I guess was popular at the time. From my brief button mashing technique, he has grapples and slams, and yeah, it didn't put me in good stead against Gil. He kicked my ass left, right, and center. But his ending consists of him reminiscing about his wounded master, who seems like he's dying, but then it's fine. Love that. Love the arcade storytelling technique, full of twists and turns over the course of 5 seconds. Next up, Yoon, who I always struggled fighting against because he's so quick, but playing as him, he feels a bit like a wet blanket. He just can't hit hard enough. His ending is so 90s rad. Apparently he returns to Hong Kong with his brother, where they boast about their exploits. And lastly, we have Ken. We all know Ken. I always struggle to find the appeal with Ken because I was forced to watch Coronation Street as a kid. If you know, you know. How do, Ken? Ken's ending consists of him getting punched in the balls by his kid. I'm warming up to him. And that's all of them done, at least the normal characters. I only do the standard, like, base characters. No secret characters, no unlockable stuff, okay? So yeah, that's Street Fighter 3, the base game, done. But we're not done yet, because we've got 2 more versions to take a look at. Firstly, Street Fighter 3 Second Impact, which introduces Hugo, Urien, and Yang. Only 3 new characters? This shouldn't take long, right? Right? Only 3 characters? I'm starting off with Hugo, who reminds me of Howard Stern if he was overtaken by that alien in Men in Black. Starting off against Dudley, seems fine. Yeah, I'm not a fan of his playstyle, he's just too big and slow. Sure, he hits massively hard, but the rest of the time I'm just a punching bag. But I take him out as you'd expect so early on. Next up, Yang, a new character of sorts. He does appear in the base game, but not as a main fighter. He's like his brother, but not as cool because he doesn't have a skateboard. Something I noticed while playing is that I don't think this version looks as good as the original. I mean, yeah, they're essentially the same, but the tone seems a bit off compared to the base game. And there's no scene transitions between rounds, it's all in the same place, unless that was like a setting that I missed, I don't know. If that is the case, sorry, but if not, it does feel a bit more cheap looking than the original. And something I've definitely noticed, the difficulty curve. It's getting much steeper, much more quickly in this game, and by the time I get to Sean, I feel like I'm hitting a wall. He was tough, and the next fight against a newcomer, Urien, well, that was surprisingly easy. Or maybe it's a good matchup, I don't know, I took him out straight away. But oh goddamn Gil. I don't even know how long it took me. I mean, I could check my footage, but I'd feel sick if I did. I could barely even touch him, never mind win 2 rounds, like we're talking like 2 hours almost. And it got to the point when I was asked if I want to continue, I thought, you know what, maybe not. Let me try a different character for a bit. So yeah, I switched to Urien, and because the way it's set up, it means I have to go back to a few fighters before I can do the final boss. And Urien, oh man, this guy is miserable too. I hate Hugo, and I hate this guy even more. I could barely even get past Necro with him. And when I did have to fight Hugo himself, oh, what a prick to fight against. And I did come up against a wall with Ken. And at that point I said, let me try Yang. It took me 20 minutes against Ryu, but Yang's final boss is actually his bro Yoon, which is fun. Thankfully he's not as monstrous as Gil, and his ending is the same as Yoon's in the original. What a wonderful waste of 2 hours of my life. Urien, after hours of trying, he becomes the president of something, America, I don't know, but he gets introduced to the Emperor, his brother, who he just beat up. I don't know what's going on. Back to Hugo. After hours, I finally completed to see a pretty interesting ending. Gil ends up becoming his tag team partner. That's pretty funny. Not worth the hours I put into it though. Jesus Christ, those 3 characters took 6 hours. 6 hours on 3 characters. The fair but doable challenge of the original was thrown well and truly out of the window for this one. Alright, we've got to go quickly through Street Fighter Third Strike, which released pretty much at the same time according to Wikipedia. That's a bit odd. And it introduces Makoto, Q, Remy, 12, and reintroduces Chun-Li, and also has Akuma in there from the start. I'm led to believe he was an unlockable character in one of the other ones. So, let's start with Q, because he's called Q. He reminds me of those things in Howl's Moving Castle, but as a hard-boiled detective. He's rubbish, I tell you. In fact, I'm not feeling any of the new characters introduced into these Street Fighter 3 add-ons, well maybe one, but I'll get to that later. And we get to see a lot of them in Q's little campaign. The second stop is against Chun-Li, everyone's favourite. She kicks ass as per usual. How the hell could you leave her out of the base game, Capcom? We have an eerie meeting in the forest with Akuma, who kicks my ass. But hey, you're bored by now, so yeah, Q's ending is quite mysterious. It's surprisingly long as well. Maybe that's a reward for playing as such a crap character. This dude keeps appearing in photos, and the police, FBI, CIA, some people, they want to find out all about him. Alright? Remy, another forgettable character. He looks like every goth kid I went to school with, and he's rubbish. He throws hoops at people. His ending has him visiting his frozen sister, and then he dumps her into the deep ocean. What a bro. Akuma, well, he's just chilling on the bottom of the ocean before blasting out like you do, like a big bad boy. And next up, Chun-Li. Everyone loves Chun-Li, and rightly so, but I struggle to get a hold of her more than others. Maybe it's just, at this point, I'm just tired and jaded by the game. I'm suffering sort of like delirium, where everyone seems crap and the only consistent factor is me. Chun-Li remembers a girl she saved one time and then decides she needs to teach kids how to defend themselves, and so she goes back to China to teach Kung Fu. Next is Makoto, who I think is my new favorite addition to this entry. In fact, she's one of my favorites full stop. She kicks ass. I mean, obviously Gil kept kicking my ass for a good while, but aside from him, I had a really good time playing as Makoto, and her ending has her standing upon a mountain of her victims as she goes back to her dojo, which is now doing big business thanks to her newfound fame. Finally, we have 12, who is a freak of nature more than others. He's like a xenomorph or extro, you know, that schlocky movie. He forms like all sorts of weird stuff, and he's a truly left field character choice for Street Fighter. He doesn't really fit in with this universe. It's like they were making like another Darkstalkers, but cancelled it and then still wanted to use him, so they shoved him in this game. His ending has him waking up in a laboratory that he was created in. Wonderful. Done. We are done, and thank God for that. I tell you, the first Street Fighter 3, loved it. Such a positive experience, but the second, oh god, Jesus Christ, they ramped up the difficulty so much, making it almost impossible for people lacking in fighting game skills. I spent twice as long on those two than I did the first game, and they had way more characters. Anyways, let's rank them individually. The first one, I'm going with 997. A lot of fun, gorgeous, accessible. The second one, Second Impact, 7, 8, 10. It's less fun in my opinion because of the added difficulty, and I swear it looks worse than the first game. And Third Strike, somewhere between the two of them, 8, 8, 9. It's a balance, but still not the right way for me. Despite the lack of characters in the base game, I actually had more fun and enjoyment playing that one, and I'm sure not too many of you will agree with that. Alright, thanks for watching. Thank you to my Patreon supporters for believing in me and enjoying all the bonus goodness I give them. They also get to watch these episodes earlier, and you can too. You can watch next week's episode right now, chosen via a random number generator. Game number 8 is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. It's a big one. Watch it over there right now. Special thanks to my super producers, Brent McLean, FF14 Best RPG, JCrod7776, Vey, Sven Nowlertz, Wixit, Josh Foot, and Aldo SFC. Thank you for your wonderful, wonderful support.